Okay, welcome back. The 2018 spring model that I'm going to work on is, to me, a King Tiger, uh, and it's my thought for this has come from the book Archives #2, and it's a great painting. Philippe Rondet has painted a beautiful illustration in this book. Um, and as Dave and I have talked about, just sort of following the Allied army across the Western theater of war, this book here, which is there's the cover. If you see it at your local shop, pick it up. Um, it's just full of beautiful photographs of different tanks, mostly German knocked out tanks, but there certainly are American Shermans and what have you knocked out as well. Now, I'm not in the habit of knocking out tanks, especially Allied ones, T-34s, Shermans, Canadian vehicles, whatever they are. If they fought on our side, I never knocked them out. Never have. In my 35 years of modeling, I've never knocked out an Allied tank with a star on it. But German stuff, I haven't done a lot either. It's just not something that it's common with me to do. And I've even gone to reenactments with the Civil War people, and I don't even like when they're fake dying on the actual battlefield of Gettysburg. I think that what we do here is just a pastime, and it doesn't require all that stuff. You want to turn the news on, you can watch CNN and see all the knocked out tanks, T-72s and all that stuff in the Middle East fighting on the news. Knock your boots off, but it's just not a common thing for me to do. But in this case, I'm going to do it with our King Tiger for probably the first time, other than this little shelf queen. And the reason for this is that the reason for using this little shelf queen is I wanted to master getting all the colors down before I switch to my King Tiger. So never, as I've said in the past and Dave has said in the past, never eliminate these little shelf queens from 5 or 6 years ago that maybe you just lost steam on, collected dust, that sort of stuff. Well, I've polished this up, this Panther, and it's just a sort of a prop in my little vignette here. I'm going to do exactly what I've done on here to the King Tiger in the end. And I'm going to use it in this sort of setting. I'm going to take the Jeep here. This was built by a customer of mine, Tony Bell. It's beautiful to me, a Jeep. And I'm going to build another Jeep, probably not for our video purposes. I'm just going to work on the King Tiger. But moving forward this spring, I'm going to do a very similar Jeep with the new Alpine figure in it and turn him into a photographer that's going to be sitting in a small little vignette similar to this. Now, some of you may have seen this groundwork before. I had a different Panther sitting on it, but I don't glue the tanks down. I can always use this as just a helpful base to position the King Tiger moving forward. This will be a brand new road, a brand new wall set, and but like I say, this spring is going to be a few good, neat little projects that Dave and I are working on. But moving forward on our King Tiger project, I'll just put this over here. So like I say, these are just helpful ways of designing and positioning and composition on a vignette I haven't even selected the base yet. The King Tiger being a little bit larger than a Panther. Of course, my base is going to be a little bit larger than that. But like I say, you sort of have to have that visual going on. It helps me personally move forward on my little vignette. So just for me to open the box on this King Tiger, start gluing parts together, get the attack Zimmerit, and all that sort of thing, but not have a visual as the end of the project, it doesn't help me along. It makes me move a lot slower. But if I have a sort of end game vignette with a Jeep, and I'm sitting around watching a hockey game or football games tomorrow, I can sit there and, as you guys know, to me a Jeep is easy to build, and I can just sit there and work on the Jeep. And again, I have an end game. I have a piece of groundwork in mind that I'm going to use. So, and again, using these books here, there's endless amounts of opportunity to visualize without actually using these kinds of things, because not everybody has these vignettes sitting around. Just using your books is going to be a tremendous help to you. So now, using a Tack Zimmerit. A Tack Zimmerit is a product that's been around probably for 15 years. They're excellent. They're a little sheet of Zimmerit molded on a backdrop of resin. That's just a carrier, and what you do is you remove it off of the carrier, and I'm going to get into how to do that. But of course, using this King Tiger here, you can go with or without Zimmerit. I use this book as a bit of a guide. There's a great article in here by John Mahar on how to apply Zimmerit that's been battle damaged. So don't hesitate to. This book has come out about a year ago, full of great little tips. So take advantage of all that sort of thing. John's done a great piece on using a Tack Zimmerit and how to go about getting it off the carrier without, because it's a fragile product. It's about 1 millimeter thick or less. So it's fragile. If you don't do it properly, you can easily crack it, and it's expensive. So spend some care, spend 20 minutes removing it off of its resin base there, and move forward with it. Now, how to remove it is the following. What you could do is, in my case, because you're going to use water to use the wet and dry sandpaper. All this is a microwave plate with a little lip on it. And the lip, of course, is there so your water doesn't splash off everywhere. So just place her down, and don't worry about using the one at home. You can pick these up at a dollar store for inexpensive. Take a sheet of 400 sandpaper, tape it to the glass, and all this is going to act as a carrier so that your Tack Zimmerit doesn't slide around on the glass, because, like I say, it's fragile, and the friction pushing against it with the sandpaper can cause it to move and bind, and if it binds, it can just split. Like I say, it's very, very thin. So I just use this first layer of sandpaper just as more like a skid plate on a tank, on a contemporary Abrams tank, and that just holds the Zimmerit down. So you take the Tack Zimmerit, and it's paper thin. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. Turn it upside down so that the Zimmerited part of the sheet is facing down, and then just take some 600 or 400 sandpaper and just gently sand. Now I'm just going to reach for some water. It just makes it better to use water in this process. Keeps your sandpaper clean as well. So I'll just go get some water, and then we'll start. Okay, so in using this is a very fine resin, as you guys know. Most of you probably have a Tack Zimmerit at home. It's wise to use a mask just with using resin. I won't use a mask just because of filming and because I don't want it to interrupt me speaking to the film. So, but just you can pick these up at your local little drugstore, your pharmacy. They're very inexpensive, and I would suggest that, especially, this is very fine, so the fine dust that's going to come off of this if it gets in your lungs, gentlemen, some people it's not going to affect, but some people it's going to affect, and it can slow down your day big time. So I'm just suggesting wearing a mask and moving forward on that. And I know that Verlinden and what have you are sort of yesterday's news. People don't use Verlinden products. Well, they have them at home, and they certainly are going to have difficult buying them maybe in 2018. But those of you who are going to use proper resin pieces that you have to sand the little blocks off, don't ever try it without using a mask, because that dust can just set you off and just back you up for weeks. So use a mask. And I've just dipped the sandpaper in a bit of water. And remember, this thing is upside down now. The Zimmerted part is facing down, and this is strictly a skid plate more than anything else. So just drop it on, and then just start to sand the edges. So I'm just going to go around the perimeter, and you can easily see the different cutouts, the different areas of the tank Zimmered. So like I say, I use this microwave plate just to keep the scene clean. You can probably put this down on your green pad as well. You know, your cutting mats. You can tape the sandpaper down to that. Just as long as you use this 400 sandpaper, like I say, as a sort of a skid plate, because this stuff is very fragile. Okay, so after 2 or 3 minutes of sanding, our Zimmered is about to come off. As you can see, it comes off pretty easy. But don't try to help it along with dull scissors or an X-Acto blade or all that sort of stuff. If you don't have an extremely sharp X-Acto knife, certainly don't do this. I just find that because of the beautiful thinness of the Zimmered itself, just to use sandpaper. And as you can see, it's coming off pretty easy. Alright, so there's your beautiful piece of Zimmered. Now, as you guys know, I'm doing a knocked out King Tiger, and Zimmered has a habit of almost shattering. It's almost like tempered glass when it goes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw some patterns on paper of the sides of this tank, and then map out where I'm going to break the Zimmered. Now, one of the things moving forward on this, of course, is using our little template here. And this, just using this, might determine where I'm going to put the shell holes. So I'm not going to start chopping this out quite yet. I'm going to work my vignette a little bit, have the photography Jeep and what have you positioned properly. And then I'm going to start to chisel out where on the Zimmered the appropriate battle damage is going to be. So moving forward on this, I'm just going to continue to sand out all these pieces, properly put them, you know, away, work out my vignette, and then go back to them, and then I'll show you guys next time, you know, how to cut them, how to make them look battle damaged. And like I say, using John Mahar's article in this magazine is going to be a big help with myself moving forward on it, because I haven't done it. and as well for all you guys. I would imagine a lot of you have this book at home, and use this as a guide as well as our video, and everything will work out just fine. So, like I say, I'm gonna work out this little vignette for a day or so, and then get back to you guys on how to add the battle damage. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you shortly. Thanks.